Tonight on Cronkite News, the Big 12 commissioner visits the Valley weeks before Arizona and ASU join the league. What he says the team needs to do to be successful.
Plus, dozens of golfers from around the world converge in Arizona for a spot in the annual U.S. Amateur Championship.
And in Phoenix, businesses and cities are encouraging people to bear the heat. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News. I'm Jack Bartlett.
And I'm Rachel Masson. Thank you for joining us.
As Arizona and ASU get set to enter the Big 12 Conference, League Commissioner Brett Yormark paid a visit to Arizona recently.
Yormark spoke to the Arizona Board of Regents, highlighting how the Big 12 will be even better with the addition of the new schools. The conference expands to 16 teams, and Yormark emphasized his vision for the Big 12 to be the most relevant and recognized league in the country, and also be known as the #1 basketball conference in the nation. Yormark believes Arizona and ASU are a big part of what will make the new-look Big 12 successful.
It was the dream scenario, candidly, to bring in the four corner schools, and we're able to accomplish that. This is our new footprint. We're in 10 states. We have 90 million people in our footprint. We cross over 4 time zones. One of the things that I'm focused on is how do we leverage that scale in this new era of collegiate athletics, and very excited to get started.
Both Arizona and ASU go into the Big 12 era with new athletic directors, and the schools will also have to navigate traveling greater distances for games.
And, Jack, let's not forget how NIL is changing the landscape. Yormark touched on that, briefly saying he thinks there's no better time for us to be a student athlete.
The U.S. Golf Association held one of its amateur golf qualifying events right here in Arizona. 78 amateur golfers from the U.S., Canada, and even Thailand teed off for a chance to compete for a spot in the 124th Amateur Golf Championship. The event was held at the Desert Highlands Golf Club in Scottsdale, Arizona. Out of the 78 golfers that competed, 8 golfers qualified for the playoffs and 2 qualified as alternates. Local Arizona golfer Kurt Watkins is one of the 8 qualifiers that will represent Arizona and is excited by what the presence of the USGA can do for Arizona.
The USGA always has a presence here in the Phoenix metro area and down in Tucson. To have a championship, we're actually having one of the national championships here in a couple years, not too far from here at True North. But yeah, it's great. We just had 2 great players win a USGA championship last week over in Philadelphia. It was really fun to see them bring a trophy back.
Watkins and the qualifiers will be back on the green for the USGA amateur playoffs on July 25th. This will determine who will represent Arizona at the 2024 Amateur Championship in Chaska, Minnesota.
We're just a few months away from the start of the fall flag football season. Dozens of schools took part in the inaugural season last year in Arizona. As Cronkite News reporter Christos Zafiropoulos tells us, the sport continues to grow since the sport was added just a few years ago.
With flag football's great success in its first season as an AIA-sanctioned sport, the outlook on next season is to assist the sport's growth with the addition of a new 4A conference.
There you go.
We basically doubled our schools from last year to this year, or this coming next season. Right now, I think we're on pace for 104 signed up to participate next year. Last year was about 50. So that necessitated the addition of that 3rd conference. So we're going to have a 4A, 5A, and 6A conference next year.
The addition of the 4A conference could be the beginning to an even larger expansion of more flag football conferences.
You really have to give credit to the local area ADs administrations for doing their job, because that's why we now can expand to the 4A. And in the 4A conference, you really actually have a mix of 1A through 4A size schools. So we really do have smaller schools in there, which I think is great.
Football as a whole is an extremely popular sport in the United States, as just last year, the Super Bowl averaged 123.4 million viewers. The growth of flag football has brought even more attention to the sport and has given girls another avenue of opportunity in athletics.
I love the game. I love to watch it. I love to play it. Because we wanted this so bad for the girls, everyone just did it. It was no pay involved. It was just from the heart with love for the girls to help provide girls another sport.
It's awesome seeing the girls being at the camps and clinics and watching the girls the sport just explode, and how they're dedicated to it and how they're picking up on nuances. And the girls are so coachable right now because it's so new, and it's just amazing to see and watch these girls grow.
As flag football continues to grow, the sport will be making its Olympic debut in 2028 in Los Angeles, California. In Chandler, Arizona, Sto Safaropoulos, Cronkite News.
Onto the professional level, the Phoenix Mercury needed double overtime to beat the Dallas Wings 97-90 on Sunday. Phoenix has won back-to-back games and 3 of their last 4 following a 4-game losing streak. The Mercury will look to continue their winning streak with a stretch of home games. First, they will face the Las Vegas Aces, followed by the Seattle Storm, and they will finish the stretch with a game against the New York Liberty. The team is currently 6-6 and 4th place in the Western Conference.
Europe, where 21-year-old Carlos Alcaraz claimed his first French Open title. Alcaraz needed 5 sets to beat Alexander Zverev to claim his 3rd Grand Slam crown on his 3rd different surface.
Well, honestly, first of all, I'm exhausted. Physically, it was a really tough one, but I feel like it is a dream come true for me. I really wanted to lift this trophy one day and then be able to do it. It's a great feeling.
The Phoenix Rising have the unfortunate task of playing some of their home games during the summer.
That's right, but Jack, let me tell you, that is not stopping soccer fans from turning out to the games. In fact, this season's attendance is much higher than normal. Find out why when we return after this quick break.
Plus, we're expecting temperatures well into the triple digits this week. Your forecast is coming up right after this.
What Cronkite News means to me is opportunity.
We do news right at Cronkite News, serving a community ethically, honestly, and truthfully.
And we can provide a necessarily different angle, different voice for those people that really need it.
The students, they have a lot of passion for journalism.
I get to do a lot of stories about the Hispanic community.
And we have access to cover all of these sorts of events and get media coverage of all these different personalities and athletes, and that's just a huge thing.
But it's also a chance for people here to be humanized. Individuals of all walks of life.
Cronkite News will help take the next generation of journalists onto their next careers.
I am old enough to remember Walter Cronkite.
We're putting a lot of pride on his name because we are practicing a lot of the things that he did.
I think he'd be smiling from ear to ear.
I.
We are Cronkite!
The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication's Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Now to Arizona soccer and the Phoenix Rising, where we shine a spotlight on its fans and the increasing attendance at their home matches. Cronkite sports reporter Marco Radici-Moras has more on how the fans have impacted the games.
Here at Phoenix Rising Stadium, the stands have been noticeably more packed than last season. This is something Rising president Bobby Dooley says was a major focus for the club in the off-season.
Having a complete off-season where we weren't worried about moving a stadium and we could focus on the business side of things has certainly helped. And we're always asking for feedback. We're doing surveys. We're trying to see what works, get new people out that have never been to a game at Phoenix Rising. And we pride ourselves on trying to be accessible and affordable.
The players have benefited from these increased crowds, with the Rising winning 4 games and drawing 1 in 8 home outings this season, as opposed to winning just 1 on the road. However, the increased crowds haven't just helped the players, but also many of those working around the club.
We've probably done 75% more business than last season. Since the championship win at the end of last season, I think the fan base has really come out and to support the team, which also helps the businesses that are at the games as well.
The fans' energy gives a big boost to the players, helping them get to the finish line. Rising head coach Danny Stone acknowledges this support as a big advantage.
When we play in front of fans, it's always a helpful thing to know that home support is massive, and home games are obviously critically important. We know that, and we want to always go and play well at home, so we give the fans what they come to see.
And the fans got exactly what they came to see. As the clock hit the 87th minute, the game was on a knife edge with the Rising down to 10 men. However, Darius Formella converted a cutback to send the home fans into pandemonium.
As the season progresses, there's no doubt that the Phoenix Rising will be looking to pack their stadium even more to give their side a big boost at home. Here at Phoenix Rising Stadium, I'm Marco Radice-Moras for Cronkite News.
The Phoenix Rising will face El Paso Locomotive FC on Saturday, June 15th. They will look to continue climbing up the ranks in the Western Conference and will need all of the fan support they can get.
Turning now to the weather. It was a warm weekend across the valley, but it's only going to get warmer. Carly Koskovich joins us now from the Weather Center with what we can expect.
Yeah, Jack, there is no joke. It is hot outside. As you can see, it is still at that 100-degree mark, even at 8 p.m. tonight. Going a little later, it finally drops to about 98 degrees, slightly back into those double digits around 9 p.m. But even with some slight cloud coverage going in about 10 o'clock, it's still going to be about mid-90s, so at 94. Going into tomorrow's lows, that Grand Canyon is sitting at 41 degrees, but don't be fooled, it is still hot in the valley with that low being 81 degrees. Back into that Grand Canyon, it is a 50-degree jump from 41 degrees up to 90. Now as for the valley, like I said, it is hot outside from 81 to 110. That's hot all around. So why is it so hot? Well, as you can see, there's slight cloud coverage, not enough to actually keep us cool here down in the valley. But like I said, there's not much even going on, no rain, so pretty much we're sitting in this heat wave. And as for tomorrow, we're actually entering a heat advisory from Tuesday until Thursday. Even though there's some cloud coverage hitting us on about Thursday, it's still going to be very hot at 110. Finally, we hit Friday with a slight drop to 107. Not much at all, but it's a little bit better than what this weekend's going to bring. It's going to be a hot weekend at about 111, and averaging back to that next week, we are way above that 77 average, and it is just going to be hot for the next week. So please, if you're outside, drink some water, wear some sunscreen. From Cronkite Weather Center, I'm Carly Koskovich.
Thanks, Carly. So, Jack, it looks like, no rain in our forecast, but it does look like it's going to be quite a different story over in Florida.
Yeah, that's right, Rachel. Folks across the state are preparing for massive amounts of rain over the next few days. In fact, the southern part of the Sunshine State could see up to 10 inches of rain or more over the next few days. It's pretty dry so far, as we can see in this video from Hollywood Beach, but the major rain is expected to begin Tuesday and last through the weekend. The rain comes at just the right time because parts of South Florida have been under moderate to severe drought.
And hail is to blame for this damage to the nose of a plane, full of passengers. Nearly 200 people were on board the Austrian Airlines flight yesterday when the storm hit during the flight, which had taken off from an island off the coast of Spain. The flight crew says the storm was not visible on the weather radar. However, good news, the plane landed safely and no one was hurt.
Coming up next, the news headlines from across Arizona.
We take a look at a new at-home test for cervical cancer. Find out how this new test will be available and how it could impact women in Arizona after this quick break.
Here at the TV Production and Graphics Lab, we are behind the scenes making the news happen. Gain experience in the control room directing, teledirecting, and rolling the audio of every Cronkite News show. Run the floor and work in a professional environment, honing your skills for the future. Create graphics that will be seen by the local community on Arizona PBS. Be a part of the bloodline that makes the Cronkite News shows possible.
The
Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication's Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Did you know newsrooms today are looking for bilingual journalists? Cronkite Noticias prepares you to cover diverse communities. In Cronkite Noticias, you will obtain an unforgettable experience.
Nopales como este van a tumbar.
Cronkite Noticias.
And develop your skills with the latest technology.
With a look at the headlines from across Arizona. The FDA announced a new method to screen for cervical cancer. It's a self-administered test only using a cotton swab. The goal? Reach populations who are not routinely screened, and to make the test that is historically dreaded by patients a little more comfortable.
Certain populations have encountered barriers to cervical cancer testing largely because of the unfavorable method of a pap smear.
Someone who had trauma or someone who has a different ability in terms of their use of their legs and hips, someone who's confined to a wheelchair or confined to a bed.
Dr. Caitlin Lee, who works at Wesley Community and Health Centers, a state-funded program that serves uninsured and underinsured patients, says 30% of the population is not up to date with their screenings. Now the self-test opens new doors for prevention.
You know, cervical cancer screening is recommended for all individuals with a cervix, so that's regardless of gender or identity. So I think that transgender populations are also particularly vulnerable.
Dr. Lee also says the privacy offered with the self-test should also increase screening among the transgender community. This is only the first step. Childcare, work responsibilities, and lack of transportation are still problems. Cervical cancer survivor Gail Peterson-Hawk speaks on her own experience.
Appointment still has to be made. The person still has to travel to the clinic, get the child care.
After this initial rollout, the FDA anticipates approving a home test, eliminating time and cost concerns. But it brings other challenges.
When people do more testing at home, that they remain more isolated, they don't develop those relationships.
Right now, patients still have to take the test in office. Gail Peterson-Hawk says communication is key.
You really have to be your own advocate. It's a shared responsibility, but the responsibility falls on the person who needs to have the screening or the return to care.
Dr. Sharon Thompson says the anticipated at-home test expands reach, but it is not the end-all, be-all answer.
These at-home tests are great, but they do not replace medical care because you don't have the training a doctor does.
Dr. Lee expects the self-test should be available in clinics at the end of summer or in early fall. And Dr. Thompson noted the expected insurance price is anywhere from $69 to $100. An update now on the Adams fire that's been burning in the Tonto National Forest. Officials say that it is now 100% contained. The fire started last weekend near the Fort McDowell Reservation and has burned more than 5,000 acres. The area around the fire, however, still remains state closed, which is a stage 1 fire restriction. Those are also in effect, which means no outdoor fires are allowed except in designated areas. Officials say the fire is human-caused. Higher temps also mean the beginning of the slow season for the restaurant and bar industry. Cronkite News reporter Ashley Sinclair has more on some efforts to help keep the money flowing during the lazy days of summer.
As temperatures rise into the hundreds, it may be too hot to sit outside on a restaurant patio. But the Valley won't be a ghost town just yet. Marketing efforts from business organizations and cities work to keep the customers coming. The city of Phoenix teamed up with hundreds of businesses to celebrate its 602 area code. Ashley Patton, the Deputy Communications Director of the City of Phoenix, explains why residents should take part in the celebration.
They are offering deals and discounts, $6.02 specials in some case, or hosting events. And so all of those things are listed at 602day.com. And we encourage residents to get out and support those local businesses.
The coffee shop Fair Trade Cafe sells a drink called the Phoenix, and on June 2nd, it costs $6.02. One of the baristas says she's glad that Phoenix is celebrating the city.
I feel like there's not a whole lot that they do for the community or kind of represent 602. Because in my eyes, I feel like they sometimes have a bad rep when they talk about, Phoenix or 602. So it's nice to kind of give it a twist and a positive outlook.
The Arizona Restaurant Association hosts a restaurant week twice a year. According to their website, the event stimulates revenue for restaurants. In 2023, at least 180 restaurants participated in the week. People participating in 602 Day say they like the idea of showing city pride and think these marketing tools can boost popularity.
I think it's good for people who live here to celebrate Phoenix and all the new people who move here every year as well to kind of learn what we're all about.
The Restaurant Association says restaurants experience a 20% increase in overall sales during Restaurant Week. And while the impact of the first 602 Day is unknown, there are fans.
Anything we can do, anything the city can do to try to have more pride in the city, have people come out and take more, active engagement in where they're at and where they're living. Because I know a lot of people move here and they still have attachment to where they're from. So
in Phoenix, Ashley Sinclair, Cronkite News.
It wasn't only businesses that participated in 602 Day. The Phoenix Fire Department gave out fire detectors. The next Restaurant Week is scheduled for September 20th through the 29th. And finally tonight, you've probably heard of the Manhattan cocktail. Well, now the city of Phoenix has its own official drink. The mayor's office and the nonprofit Visit Phoenix launched a contest to find the perfect cocktail to represent the city. And the winner was created by a local mixologist and is named the Phoenix. And the cocktail is made up of flavors you typically find around the valley, including reposado tequila and the juice of a prickly pear fruit. And that's it for today's look at the news across from the state. I'm Regan Gallo. Now back to Jack and Rachel on the desk.
Thanks, Regan. Coming up after the break, a puppy finds itself in a bit of trouble.
That's right. The puppy made a wrong choice in its accessories. Stay tuned to hear what a cute pup quickly learned.
3, 2, 1. Cronkite News. Get real professional experience in areas such as reporting, broadcast editing, and behind-the-scenes production, such as technical director and audio.
Kill the mics.
Or go out in the field and cover important local stories.
Learn and master the English language.
In a fun, welcoming atmosphere. Cronkite News. The future starts now.
What Cronkite News means to me is opportunity.
We do news right at Cronkite News, serving a community ethically, honestly, and truthfully.
And we can provide a necessarily different angle, different voice for those people that really need it.
The students, they have a lot of passion for journalism.
I get to do a lot of stories about the Hispanic community.
And we have access to cover all of these sorts of events and get media coverage of all these different personalities and athletes, and that's just a huge thing.
But it's also a chance for people here to be humanized. Individuals of all walks of life.
Cronkite News will help take the next generation of journalists onto their next careers.
I am old enough to remember Walter Cronkite.
We're putting a lot of pride on his name because we are practicing a lot of the things that he did.
I think he'd be smiling from ear to ear.
I.
We are Cronkite.
Catastrophic landslide near Grand Teton National Park has caused a temporary highway detour that could be reopened in a matter of weeks.
A large chunk of State Highway 22 is missing due to the landslide. This highway is a critical connection between Idaho and Wyoming, and the Department of Transportation says there is no definite start date for construction and repairs to begin. Luckily, Wyoming transportation officials say that 2 detour lanes will be built for drivers.
And we're getting our first look at the redesigned Splash Mountain at Disney World in Orlando. The ride opens at the end of this month and is based on Disney's first black princess, Tiana, from the movie The Princess and the Frog. The original Splash Mountain opened at Disneyland in 1989 and was based on characters from Song of the South. The ride at Disneyland in Anaheim, California is also being rebranded.
Calling all puppy lovers, a puppy here in Arizona put his head in a bad spot. The little guy tried on a new collar, but it got stuck.
The pup is named Zeus, wanted to find a new accessory, but I think he found out that tire rims aren't meant to be worn. A firefighter in Eloy was called to the rescue once the puppy named Zeus got stuck inside. The firefighter was able to free the Zeus from the tire, and he gave a puppy medical exam. Don't worry, everyone. Zeus is just fine as long as he stays away from tires and shops for accessories that are his size. That's it for tonight's edition of Cronkite News. I'm Jack Bartlett.
And I'm Rachel Masson. Thank you for joining us. And to see top Arizona stories anytime, log on to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.